Jade Walker, man, way to walk it off. And with the nastiest celebration I've seen down that sideline, game winner, way to go. Tyson Bagent getting it done, throwing 3 touchdowns in the second half. Chicago Bears, man, what are we doing? Where has this come from? Maybe it's Ben Johnson. Maybe it's the preseason. It doesn't matter. Or maybe it just matters a little bit. Now, in truth, I align with Ben Johnson when he says the games don't count, but they matter, right? And at the beginning of this game, it very much was same old Bears. It very much was, man, do we even belong on the field with the Kansas City Chiefs? My whole thought process going into this game, knowing that the preseason doesn't tell the whole story, right? We skullfuck the Bills last week, 38-0. But does that indicate what their season is going to be like? No, I think they're going to be damn good as they always are, right? So you can only read so much into a preseason game, but there are certain things that you can look for. My biggest thing is we're coming to Kansas City Chiefs. Pat Mahomes is playing. Travis Kelce's playing. We're playing against one of the best play callers of all time. We're playing against one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. How do we respond? What's that going to do to our offense? Caleb looked good last week, making his drops, making his reads, making his throws on time, accurate. What's he going to do with the Spags defense coming at him, right? And I think that we had a little bit of hiccups early. We had a little bit of a slow start out the gate. Kansas City jumped on us. Pat Mahomes, man, I would not be surprised if he's got some sort of a revenge season coming because he looked prime Pat Mahomes tonight. He looked healthy. He had some wheels. He was making throws. We had the softest underbelly of all time for a defense. I can't name to you a single thing in the first half that we did well on defense. We didn't rush the passer. We didn't stop the run. We didn't cover well. We didn't limit points, giving up everything. And if it wasn't abundantly clear before, it is abundantly clear now that there probably is a need for us to trade for a pass rusher. I'm not saying that we're going to do that. I feel like we probably feel pretty good about what we've got. But man, was it hard for us to get pressure on Pat Mahomes today, especially if we're not dialing up pressure. Now, when I say everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt, no Grady Jarrett, no Tremaine Edmonds, no Kyler Gordon, no Jalen Johnson, no Austin Booker. Our defense wasn't at full strength, right? But what a freaking game, man, for the preseason. It's all about moments, right? So we're hearing stories that after that third drive where our offense came back and finally responded, they came back, put together a really good drive. Ben dialed up some good plays. We only got 3 points out of the drive, which was a little bit disappointing. But in my head, as Kansas City's got the ball, I'm thinking that if they leave enough time on the clock to where we've got a chance to run a 2-minute drill at the end of a half against the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, I had to think that Ben Johnson is going to want Caleb Williams and our starters to soak up that pressure, see how they respond in that situation. And apparently Caleb had given his helmet to the equipment guy. They were told that they were done. And then they got called back in. Go get points, right? Lead us on a drive, score, go into the half with some momentum and feel good and end the preseason on a high note for the starters, right? That's just what we did. Caleb looked good. Overall for Caleb, 11-15, 113 yards and a touchdown to Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze, man, I think he's due for a big year. Let's just call out Olamide Zaccheaus. Is this guy just the most under-the-radar difference maker that has been signed by any team this offseason? Think about all the people that we have that are legitimate yards after catch threats, right? Olamide Zaccheaus, man, this guy just understands how to catch the ball and get upfield. He's slippery and he's efficient. He doesn't waste many steps, right? DJ Moore is one of the hardest guys to get on the ground. Luther Burden, you can just see in the preseason, he's just got a different level. You get the ball in his hands and he's extremely slippery and he's very versatile. And that's not even to mention Rome Odunze, who's the biggest of the bunch. He can go up and get a jump ball, although he didn't get a jump ball. That Caleb got absolutely drilled. And if there's one team in the NFL that you're not surprised to see get called a penalty on that, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Caleb got popped right in the mouth, delivering a throw. Can I say a perfect throw to Rome Odunze in double coverage on the sideline, guy in his face. Rome could have went up and caught it. He dropped it. Unfortunately, that's a ball that I think we've seen him catch last year. We had a couple of fourth downs late in games where Caleb went to Rome in big spots and Rome came down with that. I think that Rome is more than capable of making that play. Didn't make it tonight, but it's okay because he got his touchdown anyways, right? This is all a dress rehearsal. That's why the third preseason game, the last preseason game, it's a dress rehearsal for the starters to get the kinks out, right? To iron everything out before going into the regular season. So you want to get them reps, but you also are allowing playing time to guys that are on maybe the verge of making the roster, right? Can anybody separate? And if anybody separated tonight, it had to be Jade Walker. 3 catches, 37 yards, and a touchdown, the walk-off touchdown, all on that last drive. I thought he looked good, and those are the type of moments that you just bank on in preseason. And I think that celebration that he's hitting down the sideline with everyone just going mad is one, yes, we won the game because of that, but two, you've got to feel like he secured himself a roster spot, right? Tyler Scott, man, not looking great for you. Some of these other receivers didn't really do anything noticeable, but I just love the ability for our team to respond. Tyson Bagent, way to respond after getting paid this week, right? Come out and you get that contract extension. You can't help but feel amazing for this guy. Tyson Bagent is one of the most deserving guys that you could find on this roster. He is the epitome of what you want in a football player for the Chicago Bears, right? This is the type of guy that you rally around because he's a culture builder, right? A lot of people comparing him to Ben Johnson, saying they've got the same type of attitude, and Ben Johnson has to love that. He's got to soak it up, and that's why we extended him. Came in through 3 touchdowns in that second half. Big week for Tyson Bagent. And again, I can't help but think, why is nobody calling for him? This guy is awesome. He's never going to be the guy over Caleb Williams, but he's awesome. I just feel like we are lacking that punishing running back, right? That profile. It's a shame to see Brian Robinson go to the 49ers of all people who, if there's any team out there that's going to get the most out of a Brian Robinson, don't you think it's the San Francisco 49ers pairing with Christian McCaffrey? That seems like a match made in heaven, and I would have loved to have Brian Robinson's physical style of running in Chicago. I thought that would have looked awesome. I thought that it would have been very effective, right? Especially pairing him with DeAndre Swift, who in many ways are complementary. There's a number of running backs that are out there that I want to see what the Bears are going to do, because I don't feel great. Like we've barely seen any of Roschon Johnson, barely seen any of Kyle Monangai since week 1. Travis Homer, we know, is probably going to make the roster, but he's never going to be a guy. I would just love to see, like, there's a lot of rumors out there right now that Kenneth Walker might be cut by the Seahawks. Might be. We'll see. He's got some injury concerns, and they're injuries that, definitely are ones that strike fear in a football team, committing to a running back like that that's injury prone with neck injuries. Like that's not something that you're wanting to roll the dice on and wanting to bank on. But Kenneth Walker is the type of physical runner that if you put him in a Ben Johnson offense, I think it's a wet dream, right? I've seen rumors about Breece Hall. I've seen rumors about Alvin Kamara. I mean, in a perfect world, I would freaking love that. That would be the best thing I could ever imagine for the Chicago Bears this year. But I just don't know in what world does that happen. Is it a trade? Is it Tyson Bagent to New Orleans? I've seen that, but then we extend Tyson Bagent, so maybe that removes that possibility from even happening or even occurring. But I just can't help but feel there's a move that the Bears can make with these roster cuts coming up, bringing in a running back, and just more so fortifying that position, because right now it's a position that if we're going into the season with only a DeAndre Swift healthy, that doesn't necessarily enthuse me and give me the utmost confidence in that room. One other thing that I think is important, and I'll end on this. You had Kansas City's GM, Brett Veach, in the booth talking to the broadcasters. And I thought that he said some pretty noteworthy stuff. One of the things that he said that struck me the most was he said that we want to draft, develop, and extend our own guys, right? We have a culture, we've built a team, we've built an environment that we feel like once we get those people in our ecosystem, it turns them into the type of players that we want, right? That Kansas City culture is something that you can feel. I mean, you get it in the atmosphere, in the environment, in the stadium. You get it on the sideline. You've got Andy Reid, who is just a maestro when it comes to the play calling, and that's top down. Then you go to the quarterback, Pat Mahomes, who's always going to be there. He's always going to be setting the standard. Travis Kelce, I mean, that guy, he speaks for himself. What has he not done? He's going to go down as one of the best tight ends in NFL history, commands respect. And then Chris Jones, guy looks bigger every single time I see him. You see this guy on the sideline and you realize what an elite all-pro looks like, right? Not many of those guys walking around Chicago, not saying that they can't turn into that, but you see these like larger than life NFL players roaming the sideline for Kansas City. These guys set and maintain the culture in Kansas City. For Chicago, that culture is ever changing, right? We've got coaches in and out the door. We've got players in and out the door. There's never a sound culture in Chicago that can be established. If you ask, I mean, I am so proud to be a Chicago Bears fan, despite the failures and despite the poor play in recent history. I wear this hat with pride, right? I love the Chicago Bears. It's part of who I am. But I couldn't tell you what our culture is. I could tell you what it used to be, the days of Urlacher, the days of Briggs, right, under Lovie Smith. But since then, there is no culture, right? That's what we're trying to build. And that's what Ben Johnson's job is, right? He's bringing in the right assistant coaches. You hear the interviews from the players. They're doing all the right things. The coaches are grinding. The coaches are riding these guys, making sure they're instilling the right habits and the right expectations, right? They are building a culture from the ground up. And you hope that if this is successful and if we want to do well, this culture starts to feed itself, right? We start to get young guys in the locker room. They jump right into that environment, and hopefully it's a healthy, winning, successful environment. We cultivate that. We grow that. We nurture that. We haven't been able to do that like a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, who can draft a young guy and they come in and they realize real quick that they need to shape it up if they want to fit in with that environment, right? With the Bears, sometimes you get these young guys that What are they joining? A losing environment? They don't want to assimilate to that, right? We've got to build that winning culture. And if nothing else, the Bears in 2025 are undefeated. We beat the Packers and have yet to lose in the preseason. Maybe we are a winning culture. We'll see. That remains to be seen. But this was the type of game we need. And if it ended up us not winning and us getting kicked in the teeth, that was a lesson learned. That was a humbling. That's what we needed going into week 1 against Minnesota, because Minnesota's not going to pull any punches, right? I'm excited for that game. It's going to be a real test, a real barometer for where we're at. I think Ben's going to have us ready. This was a game that was necessary. It's what we needed. It showed some fortitude. It showed some resilience. I mean, the last thing you want as a coach, I mean, listen to Nick Saban. These guys don't want to win 38-0, have your team feeling themselves and thinking that they're the shit and that they can't be touched, right? We got rattled. We got popped in the face and we were fought back. Granted, it's the preseason, but that means something. And the culture for the Chicago Bears, to me, under Ben Johnson, feels like it's changing. And if it can change into something that Kansas City has built, then that's how we know that there's difference. There's real impact from Ben Johnson and the leadership all the way up to the top. Minnesota's up next. Let's go. Bear down, baby.